gosh, is it the law of the universe that when you try to record a video and it's absolutely peaceful, silent, calm, middle of the day, out of nowhere, someone has to have a leaf blower or a lawnmower or a loud car out there, and they need to find you right then. I set up for this video, and the minute I sat down and opened up my little camera, the leaf blower outside just started up out of nowhere, and I was like, where even is it? I can't even see it. It's like a ghost. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back into my bedroom / my crafting space. And you're gonna notice next to me is a very large wig because today we are going in to talk about the big scary thing, which is huge wigs, styled wigs, difficult wigs. And I'm gonna build up your confidence today and explain how you can go from being a complete absolute beginner. I was trying to think of a word. A complete beginner to wigs into doing something that's big and scary and larger than life. And you do not need to be an amazing, perfect stylist like you see on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. You don't have to be a total pro. You can do your first project and still have it turn out really well. And I'm going to give you guys some tips about how to do that. Hi, my name's Lynn. I'm a cosplayer with 18 years of experience under my belt. I live in Washington, the home of coffee and vampires, so the fact that it's sunny outside right now is a little rare. And like I've said in many of my videos, I live in a very tiny apartment, so my crafting space is actually my bedroom / where I do my physical therapy, my yoga / where I keep all my clothes / where I watch Netflix in bed. Like you guys know the whole deal. I am not a sponsored or affiliated crafter. I don't have a massive house with a huge warehouse and an art room to do all my crafts. Everything I do is very much like homegrown cosplayer. That's how I'd call it. I am not here to give you like super cool entertainment and editing styles. I'm here to really talk to you cosplayer to cosplayer and give you very realistic tips when it comes to doing projects. I also started doing a series a while back that I call the Controversial Cosplay Series, where I talk about really spicy / like hot tea subjects in our community, and I just kind of give my opinion on them. I also bring up a lot of problematic behavior that I see so we can like address it. And I really love doing it because the more videos I've done, I've gotten more comments of people saying, oh my God, I noticed this too, but like no one's bringing it up. I'm so glad someone else feels the same way I do. So it just kind of gave me a little more fuel for the fire to keep doing that. But because I talk a lot of opinions, I want to even it out with other like actual cosplay stuff. I am not a tutorial person. I do not put together tutorials and film everything I do. Most of the time when I'm creating, it is actually in my pajamas while I'm watching like a goofy movie on Disney Plus, and my bedroom's a huge mess. Like, it's not made to be aesthetic. It is made to be functional for my lifestyle. You guys don't want to see that. But what I am going to talk about is the end product and how I got from being a person whose like hardest wig styling was literally like cutting bangs and maybe putting curls in, to doing something that is larger than life for a project that I really, really loved. So let me introduce you to my Thumbelina wig from the 1994 classic Thumbelina, created by Don Bluth. There is a convention coming up this weekend called SummerCon, where it was announced a while back that not only was Don Bluth going to be there, but also Jodie Benson. And I had been working on a Thumbelina costume for like the past year and a half. When I heard that, it was like, that's what I have to cosplay as in tribute to them. And with that, I needed the wig. And the wig was the scary part because Thumbelina's hair is like very, very cartoonish. She has a massive ponytail. She has very like crazy styled bangs. And not only that, she has these little poofies that kind of stick out from her face. They're very cutesy. But realistically in a wig, it just does not make very much sense. So there I am, you know, with a couple of months. I think this was like 4.5 months before the con. And there is an Etsy creator who I have used to make wigs before, because again, I like to make cosplays. I'm not great at wigs. So I had hired her to make my Princess Odette wig, and it came out just absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. It was so soft, so easy to wear. Just absolutely beautiful work. She's a person who makes actual like princess wigs for people who are professional princesses, and I was very glad to use her, and so I turned around and rehired her to make my Thumbelina wig, but unfortunately the state of the world is on fire, which means that the US wants to be a little poop about everything, and because of that and the fears of tariffs, many online stores were not restocking. Because of that, the hair that was necessary to make the wig for her was not in supply. It was not going to be back in supply, which left me in a really crappy spot getting refunded and having a little less than 2 months before the convention to figure out wigs. Not enough time to have something commissioned, so I was left with the option of I have to make it myself. And instead of feeling very poorly about it, I took it as a really good opportunity to be like, okay, I've never done a crazy wig. This is the time to learn it. So how did I go from styling Kagome style, you know, from like Inuyasha wigs, to this crazy monstrosity? And I want you guys to see how long this crazy thing is. This actually is the real length of her hair. It does go all the way down the back. And I'm sorry, the bottom's a little tangled. We're gonna do some final styling tonight. So I wanna talk about my tips when it comes to learning how to do actual styling and larger than life wigs, and a lot of stuff that I learned along the way. And I also want to bring up the fact that you do not have to be a professional crazy person to do crazy wigs. You just have to have patience and the ability to make a mess somewhere, and the ability to slowly work on a project, because like I said, this took me a very long time to make. And also the ability to buy the right items to help you, and whether that means getting them next day shipping or maybe having to wait a while in the mail to get something too. So like they say, all good things take time. Wigs, oh my God, so true about wigs. So first off, I want to go in and talk to you guys about, let's talk about like, what is the best thing to do when you're gonna start a huge project? Well, someone else has probably already done it. Go on YouTube and start watching every single tutorial you can. I actually have a playlist I made on my YouTube that is just for crafting tutorials for cosplay projects. When I'm going to start a project, I go in there and I just start saving videos that I really like that are similar to the project that I want to do. So for Thumbelina, I had to look up like, how do you make a very large ponytail that stays on your head? I used a lot of tutorials from Kinpatsu Cosplay, Kamui Cosplay, tons of other smaller creators, even like some TikTok videos where people showed different things. And my option that I decided to use was reusing a water bottle top and actually putting just some tiny little strips of Warbler in here to create like a stabilizer on top of the head. So when we are talking about big wigs, we are not talking about a ton of hair. We are just talking about making it look like there's a ton of hair. So most of what you see in this wig is an optical illusion. I want you guys to keep that in mind. Like everything that you see, it looks like it's all one piece. It is not. It looks like there's a lot of hair here. There's actually really not. I'm going to talk about a lot more of this. But you really got to get those videos in order. And the next thing I would really recommend is just starting to sketch out the ideas of what you actually want. Everyone has different preferences when they're making wigs, but what you want in this wig is the most important thing. Not how everyone else does it, not what the common way to do it is, not how companies that like mass produce it do it, but like what you want. So I knew right off the bat when I made Thumbelina, this little area in front of the face was going to be the most important, because I wanted very stylized bangs with the cute little swoop, and I also really wanted these little hair poofies, these almost like sideburns, I guess, like really cute, like cartoony sideburns. So those were very important to me, and a lot of the tutorials did not do that. They just left it out because it takes extra work to do that. So I had all these sketches drawn out, I had all these videos saved, and that's when I was like, okay, now it is time to purchase the supplies. And I kind of messed up when I first started, because I originally bought a wig that was the right length, but what I forgot was that I need to accommodate for the fact that the hair itself is going to be what, like almost an entire hand above my head. So I'm gonna lose that much length. So I actually needed about a hand's length longer than I thought, which was okay because I ended up needing extra hair anyways. So what I would really suggest is understand the supplies you're going to need, pre-buy everything, have your tutorials ready, and understand how you're going to actually get started. My next tip is talking about this very strange point. I wasn't sure if anyone else had also felt this way, but there's a point of no return when it comes to styling mega styled wigs, as I would call this. And what I mean by that is, especially when you're doing like ponytail wigs, you actually have to chop all of the hair off to even get started and create what we call a glued helmet wig. So the way that I accomplished this was I created a mold of my head by putting tape, put all my hair back, wig cap on. I put plastic wrap and then tape all over my head. I took it off. I put it on my little head form. And then from there, I put the wig on, make sure it was like nice and snug and tight. And then I started chopping all the hair off, and it was absolutely terrifying because I had this very beautiful long wig. And suddenly I am cutting every little bit of hair off of it, except for the bangs. And it was scary because I thought, if I'm doing this wrong, or I don't know, like somehow I mess it up, I can't go back. So if I mess it up from here, I'm gonna have to buy a new wig. It was very nerve-wracking, but that is totally normal. When that happens, do not freak out, just keep going, because that is very normal. Everyone feels it. If you get nervous or scared, you are way more likely to make a mistake. Like if I was cutting all the hair off and then I was like, well, what if I actually do need length? Or what if I change my mind how I want to make it? You can't leave it extra long, because if it's long and you glue it on, it's not going to have the same effect. It really has to be short. Now, the best way I want to describe wig making, this is my next tip, is that it is nothing like you think it is. Like, you see a lot of videos of people online with like foam rollers and curlers and combs and things, and it looks like regular hairstyling, but it's really not. And especially for things like this, we are trying to get the weight, the bulk of the hair actually completely out, and everything that you see has been crimped, it has been teased, it has been styled, it has been filled with glue, filled with foam, like all this different stuff. So think about wig making more as you are a sculptor, and this is going to be a very hands-on project where very little movements can change the entire effect of the wig and how easy or hard it is to actually move it and shape it and things like that. I'm going to talk a lot later on about how I found was the easiest way to shape things, like quicker, more efficient, not as much of a pain in the butt. But one thing I do want to mention is that depending on the type of glue that you use, you may have to work quicker, or you may have to work slower. So when I have worked on wigs in the past, like my Sailor Moon wig and stuff like that, I had just used a that crystal clear crafting glue. What is it called? It always comes in like a bottle. You can buy it at like Joann's or Michael's. And I used that because I wanted something that was very wet that I could actually mix with water to water it down and paint it over like a paintbrush. But I wanted it to dry clear and have like a very matte effect. However, when I used that glue, it was so slow drying that when I would make wefts, I would have to like make a weft and then I'd have to leave it there all night and come back the next day to make more or to style it or do whatever. When I worked on this project, I wanted to use a type of glue that I had recently learned about. I think it's called Uhu or U. It's like UHU. It's a European glue. I had seen a lot of wig makers use it. It looked very easy to use. But one of the things about using it, which I didn't realize, is that it is a quick drying glue. And this is actually a pro of using it, because as you're using it in your wig, you really only have to wait a minute or two and then it's completely dry to the touch. So it makes styling and weft making go a lot faster. But when I was first using it, I did not realize that. And I'm really glad I didn't mess anything up by thinking like, oh, I can like put it on and come back later to like move it around. but it's really good to know the products that you're going to use. And one of the best things about using a fast drying glue is that as you add it on, as you add like layers of it on, you don't have to worry about the bottom base layers starting to fall off from the weight of putting top layers on it. So like a lot of the things that you see in here, the little side poofs, all of that, these aren't just like one layer, these are like tiny little layers that I placed on here as I was gluing, styling. A lot of the ponytail up here I had to totally take into my hands afterwards and try to fix a lot of things. So it's just really good to know, like, if you're working with one type of glue, it might be a next day dryer, versus if you're working with other types, they might be really fast dryers. You might be able to get things done a little bit faster. Now, my next tip, my tip number 4, is that you should always have extra hair. And it's kind of funny because when I bought the first wig and then I was like, oh no, this is not going to be long enough to make the ponytail. You know, I had already cut the first wig up. It was already helmet glued, everything like ready to go to start doing that. I had to go online. I had to buy the properly length wig, which was like so long. I have a picture of me holding it up because I could hold it up over my head and it like almost touched the ground. However, I am actually very lucky that I did that, because in the end, I ended up needing that much hair. I actually have an extra ponytail of hair, and I'm glad I have that because every little part that I've wanted to touch up, I have been able to just cut a little bit off the ponytail, crimp it, style it, whatever I need to do, and then, you know, I have extra hair. So, the very back of this wig, let's see if I can turn around without knocking it over. You'll notice has a fake hairline. And that fake hairline has been altered several times because one thing that wig makers do not tell you is that every person's hairline is very, very unique. And so my hairline actually goes quite far down the back of my neck. I have a lot of like little baby hairs back here. Because of that, doing a styled wig that's ponytail styled, I did a singular method of doing like an up ponytail, put it on, and then I went, what the heck, this does not cover my very dark hair. So went online, looked up some ideas, and a lot of people suggested, hey, just glue like a fake hairline on to cover up your own. And I did that once and it still wasn't enough, so I did it twice. So as you can see, I've needed extra hair like several times. If you mess up, don't worry, because you can always add wefts in to fix it. When I went as Kafka from Honkai Star Rail. There we go. Not Genshin, it's Honkai. It's my husband's game, not mine. When I went as Kafka, I cut her bangs to style them, and I did the thing. Guys, I think like every female girl person has done this before. Have you ever like cut your own bangs at home and you think it's going to be really cute, and then as soon as you're done and they've like dried and gone into their natural style, you're like, oh my god, they are so much shorter than I thought it was going to be? That is what I did for my Kafka wig, and it was so embarrassing because I should have known better. I cut her wigs before I styled them, and yeah, one thing they don't tell you, you should probably know this, is that wet hair is a lot longer than styled hair, so you gotta leave room for the styling. And I was like freaking out because of course it was the week before SoccerCon. I have to wear this costume the next week. And then I was like, wait a second, I could just take some extra hair out of her ponytail and I'll just glue it over the bangs and make like a bang cover. Like just put extra bangs over the too short bangs. And I just did that and you couldn't even tell. It looked totally fine. But you need extra hair to do that. If you have a character that has crazy long or thick hair, sometimes you can get away with just like grabbing some wefts or pieces out from like underneath. But most of the time, if you're doing this kind of styling, you really need to buy those extra wefts online, or get a wig that is like twice as long as you need or has a lot extra more than you actually need. It's always going to take more hair than you think. And the last thing you want is to run out and then find out that Epic Wigs is out of autumn gold, which is the color I chose for Thumbelina. So, yeah, really, really glad I bought the 2 wigs after all, and it just ended up working itself out. Okay, The next tip that I want to go into is one that took me a very long time to figure out. And this is an amalgamation of me watching all the different tutorials together. But when you are styling a wig, do not think about it as in one wig that is being styled. Like, this is not your hair. If you were doing your own hair, you would like tease it, style it, put it up, but it's all still one thing on your head. Maybe you would add in some extensions or something. When we are talking about a wig, most of this that you see are totally different parts that are not actually attached at all. A lot of the hair that's around here, not attached. None of this, like all of these pieces that you see here were cut and glued on and styled. These are not like original to the wig. This is a false helmet, like a glued helmet ponytail style, which means that everything that you see up here, like you can see, some parts I didn't do like a great job on, but all of this hair right here, these are actually pieces of hair that have been glued on. So none of this is actually attached. It's just the way that you glue it on and fade it in and everything makes it look attached. So like I said, wig styling is like you're like a magician. This is literally just an optical illusion. I'm making people think this is all one wig. So don't think of the wig as one thing. Think of it as lots of different parts that you are going to completely add on. And you can style some things and add them on after, or you can glue things on and then style them. So depending on like what tutorial you're working with or how you're doing something or what you're doing, but most of it is completely not what it looks like. Now, the ponytail up here especially, this is actually a piece of upholstery foam up here. So I created like a half circle of upholstery foam I had extra of, and I glued it on to that water bottle, which is like has Warbler attached in here. And from there, I painted the upholstery foam just to be on the safe side. And then I glued the wefts of hair into the upholstery foam so it came out. You would never know this. It looks like it's a ponytail, right? Like it's just attached and it comes out. So you really have to think outside the box. Don't think about like, okay, I'm doing Meg from Hercules and her hair looks like it's all one really thick ponytail coming out of her head. Don't think about it like that. Think about like, okay, the ponytail is going to be one part, her bangs are going to be another part. I might have styled pieces that I might want to glue on after for some extra styling around her face. So the main head and the base are one thing. Then we have ponytails, buns, extensions, any sort of like details or designs that come off the head. And then the very last thing, and this is actually the most important, I would say, are the bangs and the facial framing. And I say that because a lot of the wig can actually be hidden if you don't like how it turns out. So I do have some parts like back here where I'm like, oh gosh, okay, you can kind of see like through the wefts, or oh, these things shifted, I don't like it quite as much, but who cares? There's a huge ponytail that's going to be covering it. And even the bottom of the ponytail, which I am still like styling down here, it looks kind of crazy. As you can see, it looks kind of puffy down here because I have teased it, I have crimped it, there's a lot of stuff in here. Oh yeah, also the other thing I would really suggest is these little wig pins, don't leave them pinned to your head, because if you're doing a very long style, guess what loves to go in them and get tangled? That's right, it's the hair. They love going in there and getting tangled. But what I mean is, like, even if I didn't finish the bottom of the ponytail, it's really not going to be in many pictures. Most people are going to see this part and that's going to be it. So the facial framing is very important. And then the next thing I'm going to talk about, my next tip, is that you should 100% try it on often. And I am talking about like every time that you do a main styling change, or you create something in it new that could alter the shape of the head, make sure you try it on afterwards, because this was a massive mistake that I made that I am still trying to correct all these, days later. Sorry, there's car alarm going off, of course. Uh, so one of the things that a lot of styling tutorials for wigs do not show you is that if you are using the hard glue method, when you add things or remove things on after, it can actually change the shape of the head. And also, when you use the hard glue method, you have to be very, very careful to make sure that it is not too small or too big for your head, because when we're adding in things on top, we need stabilization, and part of that stabilization is how tightly it fits to your head. It shouldn't be so tight that it hurts, but it also shouldn't be so loose that there's a lot of extra room. Now, when I made my wig head cover, I did not think about this very well. So when I wear wigs, I typically do 2 French braids in my hair, and then I wrap them around my hair like a halo, kind of. And then I put the wig cap over and then the wig. And what that does is it creates just a little bit of volume right here for the wig to kind of attach into. Plus, if it has combs, I can kind of tuck them into the braids. But the top of my head does not have bulk. It is very much like pretty flat all the way around. Now, when I made my wig head cover, I put my hair up in a bun just very quickly and then did the wig, wig cover. And then when I took it off, I realized it had added bulk up here. So the entire time that I was creating the glue cap, it was adding in extra bulk that shouldn't have been there. And then when I took it off and tried it later, I was like, oh my gosh, it's too loose for my head. What do I do? So there's a lot of little things that you need to just remember kind of along the way, but the biggest thing should definitely be that it needs to fit your head well. And like, I tried it on after I made the hard glue base and I didn't notice it too much, but as soon as there was a lot of other stuff going on in the head, there's weight there, then I noticed it a lot more. I was like, ooh, okay, this does not feel as stable. Luckily, I was able to go in and I actually cut it in several places to kind of pull the bottom down. And I'm thinking I'm going to add a couple more like elastic bands on the inside just to play it safe. Again, it's a huge ponytail wig. Ponytails tend to get caught in things, and they also tend to slip back off your head if you're not careful. So we got to get that weight. Luckily, this ponytail's up really high, so most of the weight is actually not behind me like a normal ponytail. It's actually more like here, which is really good because it doesn't slide quite as much, but you never know. So one thing I just really, really recommend is that please try on your wigs often. It does not have to be pretty. It does not have to be finished. In fact, it shouldn't be. You should be trying it on at every single step. After you do the glue cap, after you do whatever specific styling, even if it's not styled at all yet, if it's just like glued on and stuck on and you just want to see it really quick, you want to get a feel for how does this feel in my head? Does the weight feel right? Is it fitting well? Can I move around without it slipping around? Okay, are the elastic bands inside tightened or are they still loose? Like what's going on internally? And like I said, most things can be fixed. So do not freak out if you're like, oh my God, I just ruined my $100 wig. No, you didn't. Everything can be cut and glued and taken care of. You can even add things into the wig like foam and things to give some volume in there to create like a more safe space. You can add wire in, you can add warbless strips to create more structure around your head if you need it. The only thing I would say is that try not to make it too small, because making a too small wig bigger can be a little more work than having to make too big of a wig smaller. Same with clothes. It's the same rule, you know? Okay, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is the tools that you use to create and style the wigs. And I had seen so many different people do so many different versions. I had seen people style wigs by creating the style of the curls, like putting it up in pin curls and dipping it in boiling water and then letting it dry. I had seen people use a heat gun. I had seen people just use glue and their hands. I had seen people use just hairspray. Now, for me, what ended up actually working out really well was the crimper that I bought on Amazon for $15, that I crimped almost every single part of the wig before I started styling. And also, the second thing is my handheld steamer. And I use my handheld steamer to mostly steam clothes and even to clean things at home. but it really came in handy for having to do certain styling where I wanted things to move multiple ways. So especially like you can see here these little side swoopy things. They swoop like down and then back out. And I created this by using a little comb pick. Sorry, it's really dirty because there's glue on it. Yours will look like this too. But actually using a comb pick and using my handheld steamer. And as I would hold it up in steam, I would be using the comb to kind of push it however which way I wanted it to go. And that was really the major way that I got the bangs to do that. It took me a while to figure that out because originally I tried to cut it. I tried to tease it. I tried to use hairspray and I was like, okay, nothing is really like giving it the shape I want. And as soon as I used the steamer, it completely changed everything. The reason for that is that the steamer is using hot water, which is actually changing the synthetic hair structure. It's loosening it, but as it dries, it needs to be in the same shape. So you can't just steam it, style it, and then leave it. You need to actually, use your pins to put it into place or hold it like with your hand. So like a lot of these little puffy things, I actually, after I styled it, I would just kind of hold my hand out with like a glove over it and then just wait for it to dry. So it took a little bit. There are going to be some styles that will take you a very, very long time. And instead of letting yourself burn out, another tip I have is to give yourself a lot of time. Like I said, guys, this wig took me a month and a half total. When I was doing the ponytail part and when I was doing the head base part, I had to make all of these wefts. You can't tell, but these are all probably around, I'm going to say 60 to 100 wefts that I had to make. I did not make them all at one time. I very slowly made about 5 to 6 at a time, glued them into the wig, trimmed them, kind of looked around, and then decided if I want to make them shorter, if I want to make them longer, if I want to make them thicker, if I wanted to change the shape for around the hairline, around the ears. When you work on a project like a sculptor, you don't worry about time. You just worry about getting in the right headspace, letting the creativity flow, and putting it together in a way that makes sense to you. When you see tutorials on Instagram and TikTok, they make it look like it is a one-day project. It's really, really not, and that's okay. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be a good learning experience and a good way to create a character and bring them to life in the way you want to be seen. The other thing that I'm going to suggest is that if you are going to go out of your way to make a wig that looks this styled, I highly also suggest to get any accessory that you need to go with it. And by that, I mean like wig headbands to help keep everything stabilized on your head, making sure you have a good hairspray to like put your hair back, really, really get it back. There's a lot of other things, like I don't want to give you guys the whole rundown tutorial, but there's a lot of different techniques that you can use to make sure the wig stays on your head nicely and ends up in the right place. But I'm just saying, if you're going to spend $100+ to make your favorite character come to life, your favorite wig, spend a little bit of money to get the accessories to go with it because it really, really makes it worth it. And then also have a way to store it afterwards too. So there are some wigs that once they have been styled, you can't really unstyle this. Like, especially once I hit it with my very last bit of hairspray, it is going to be pretty much indestructible. So the last thing I need to think about is how am I going to store it and put it away? I have hard containers under my bed. So my thought is I'm probably going to wrap up the ponytail, maybe like around something, put it like a bag over the head, and then wrap up the rest of it in like a little bit of a netting and like maybe a grocery bag under my bed. But it's something to think about because I do see a lot of people doing wig styling for characters that the wigs are so sensitive that they can't be stored in that way. Like they need to actually be up on a shelf somewhere untouched by squished things under their bed because it will totally mess up the shape of the wig. So yeah, just something to think about. So anyways, I am very glad you guys decided to hop in, see my Thumbelina wig, hear my story about creating it. I hope it was helpful and useful. If you guys are going to SummerCon, I really hope I see you there. It's going to be a fun one. Like I mentioned, this is the year of Disney princesses, and so far I have heard that Paige O'Hara, the voice of Bella, is going to be there. Annika, the voice of Princess and the Frog, she's going to be there. A lot of different Disney princesses are going, so I'm crossing my fingers for like a super cool panel. If you see me there, please come up and say hi. This costume, this project was a great experience. I am so happy I did it, and I'm really happy I went out of my comfort zone to make one of my favorite characters. I guess I didn't mention this at the beginning, but Thumbelina was one of the movies that definitely shaped me as a kid. It is so weird, it's so strange. The singing in it and the music is so good. And it is such a beautiful classic art style, like just the way that the animation looks, the storyline. It was definitely a Prince Cornelius girly growing up, had a huge crush on him. So I'm really happy to bring the character to life. I'm really happy to go to this convention and wear it. So yeah, that's it for today, guys. Glad to have you back. Glad to see you. Glad for you to see me. And I guess I will see you guys later. So, leave comments or questions if you'd like, and we'll talk about more stuff. Okay, bye guys.